Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel. It has been a little while since I've made any new videos. I thought that before I come back officially, I would just make a video addressing where I've been, what's been going on, and I feel like you guys know so much about my life that just wouldn't feel right to just hop back into the vlogs. I actually just got back from just over 3 weeks in Vegas. The reason why I booked the trip, it was super last minute, was because prior to this, I went through probably the hardest months of my entire life. Funny enough, I tried to make this video about a week ago and I ended up just crying throughout the whole thing, which I didn't want to do. I don't want this video to be a video that I'm just sobbing and crying. I want this video to not only update you guys, but I want it to be a video where if you are going through what I had to go through, that you can click on this video and know that you're not alone, because after going through it, I know that you end up turning to the internet because no one really talks about it. So a few months back, I found out that I was pregnant, and it wasn't something that I had planned. Being with Connor for so long, it wasn't something that I was afraid of. It was just something that, it was gonna happen in the future. It just happened a little bit sooner than we had expected. So after that, I called my doctor. I went in for some blood work. I think it was maybe 2 weeks later. I don't know why it took so long, but 2 weeks later, I went in for a dating ultrasound. I feel like at that moment, it was very surreal because the girl at the front desk was congratulating us. I'm like, why are you congratulating me? And then I was just like, oh my God, a human, there's a human inside of me. And just thinking about that stuff kind of makes me emotional, because I come from having an eating disorder, and there was a day where I didn't even think that I would ever be able to get pregnant because of what I did to my body. So this was just a really big victory for me. So I believe it was maybe 2 weeks later, and I had another ultrasound. Sorry that I'm not saying all the dates and stuff like that. Sometimes I feel like I block a little bit out of my brain. Yeah, I think it was 2 days before that ultrasound, and Connor was coming home from work and I'd been sleeping all day long. I just didn't feel well. And then I woke up from my nap and I had these really bad pains, cramps. I felt like they were period cramps. So I just Googled it, which you should not do because Google tells you that you're dying. But they said that it was normal, so I didn't really think anything of it. And then the next day we woke up, a few hours went by, and then all of a sudden I had these intense cramps, and they were something that I can't even explain to you guys, because it hurt so badly to the point where I couldn't move, I couldn't talk, and Connor was getting super worried, and I was like, I think I need to go to the bathroom. So I ended up going to the bathroom, and I don't want to get into too much detail about it, but there's just a lot of blood, and at that point I knew that something was wrong. So I called my doctor, and she said that she could get me in 2 hours. Over those 2 hours, I had the worst cramps I've ever experienced in my entire life, which now, talking to my doctor and stuff, ended up being contractions. Kind of hard to explain, but you can feel them coming on, and then it was only, a minute of relief between them. I went through that, and then finally I made it to the doctor's, and then for some reason, I'm not sure it was because of all the blood that I had lost, or I don't know, just my body's way of reacting to pain. As soon as I got into the room and she walked in, I was just I'm gonna pass out. And the next thing I remember, I was laying on the bed, the doctor bed or whatever, and she was telling me that I need to go to emergency at the hospital right away. Sorry, I feel like I'm dragging this on, but Connor and I got to the emergency room at 6 o'clock. They admitted me right away. I got some pain medication, which hallelujah, because I felt like my uterus was I don't know. I just ended up having tests and doctors, and it was such a painful experience because you're going through all this stuff physically, just the mental aspect of sorry, I'm taking big breaks in between this because it was just a really bad experience. And I know that some people who miscarry, they'll miscarry at home and they don't have to go to the hospital, but being in the hospital and being, there's no privacy, people are sticking things in you, and you're just you just want to be alone, and it's So then fast forward to like 3 in the morning, and Connor and I are just exhausted and tired, and I've had like 3 ultrasounds, and on the ultrasound, sorry, and now my makeup is going everywhere, oh my lord. Basically, they couldn't find anything on the ultrasound, so, you know, that was just, hearing that, even though you already know, you know, the outcome, like I knew that I was miscarrying, but just like hearing that, it's just like a really empty feeling. So Connor and I were told to come back in 48 hours because they had to do a repeat blood test. Obviously we knew what was going on, but because my blood still said that I was pregnant, said that in 48 hours, if it's a viable pregnancy, that my HCG levels would have doubled. And then obviously if I'm miscarrying, which I knew I was, they would be lower or have dropped basically. So 48 hours passed, we went back, we did blood work, and everything was confirmed that that's what had happened. So I'm just happy that I can finally speak about it, because there was a point where I was like, I can't tell anybody about this. You know, I was ashamed and I felt embarrassed. As soon as I started therapy, which the hospital gave me resources to like contact and reach out to people, which I highly recommend to do because it is so helpful. Talking about it felt like a huge weight had been lifted off my shoulders. Like I didn't have to hide what I had been going through. I feel like miscarriages are such a silent struggle. Like you carry this burden and it feels so heavy when you've carried, you know, life inside of you and you've grown something and then it just gets taken away from you. It's really hard to like find the words. I mean, I don't care if you were pregnant for 2 weeks, for 12 weeks, for 20 weeks. You deserve to be able to speak about your pregnancy, to speak about your baby, to grieve, to honor it, to cry, to talk about it. Whatever is gonna make you feel better, and that goes with anything. You can apply this to not just a miscarriage, but any kind of form of struggle, that it's okay to talk about it. And even if it's hard and there's stigma attached to it, I just feel like there's so much comfort and strength and benefit in knowing that you're not alone in what you are going through. And it has helped me beyond belief. I just want you guys to know that you are never alone in what you are going through. And although I would not wish this upon anybody, I wish this never happened to me, I do know that everything happens for a reason. And I do know that this is hopefully only making me stronger, and it's only making Connor and I's relationship stronger. I'm definitely a changed person on how I view myself and my body and how I want to live my life, but there's a lot of stuff that we don't talk about when it comes to miscarriages, like all of the inevitable dates. And when I say inevitable dates, I'm talking about when my due date rolls around in June. And I'm not sure how I will feel on that day, but just talking to other moms, I know that, you know, I'm not the only one who is afraid of those dates. Or, you know, it's hard to see other moms who are pregnant or with babies. And I know that sounds so terrible, but you're not alone if you're feeling these really weird and jealous thoughts. And, you know, I think that it will get better with time. And that's the thing that kind of keeps me going, is to know that every day that you survive, every day that you fight the thoughts in your brain, like, it's such an accomplishment. And I'm gonna have to wrap this up right now since it is getting dark outside. Hopefully I made a little bit of sense. I just feel like being able to talk about this has really helped me so much. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for listening to me and just for supporting me and being so understanding why I needed a break for myself. And I think that that has been one of the most important things that I've done. I'm excited for the future because I know that as terrible as those months were, I feel like I've learned so much about myself, and I've learned, you know, how strong Connor is as a person and how strong our relationship is. And I know that there will be brighter days ahead. I feel so repetitive for saying it, but it means the entire world to just have people support me through this and just to not feel ashamed about what I went through and stuff. So thank you once again, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.